You already think you know how this one ends. A reckless young man takes his father's money, throws it all away, and comes crawling home. And we call it the parable of the prodigal son. But that title hides something. Jesus did not tell this story about a runaway boy. He told it to a crowd of furious religious men. And the character he built the whole story to expose is not the son who left. It is the son who stayed. And it does not end the way you remember. Its final line is a question, left unanswered for 2,000 years. This is the true story behind those words. To understand this story, you have to see the room it was first told in. It is somewhere in Judea, roughly 2,000 years ago. A traveling teacher named Jesus has become impossible to ignore, and a very specific kind of crowd keeps gathering around him: tax collectors and sinners. We hear those words and shrug. His listeners did not. A tax collector in that world was not a bored clerk. He was a local man who worked for the occupying empire, squeezing money out of his own neighbors and skimming a fortune off the top. He was a traitor with a purse. And sinners meant the openly disreputable, people everyone had quietly agreed were beyond saving. And Jesus is eating with them. In that culture, sharing a meal was not casual. To sit and eat with someone was to say, "I accept you. I belong with you." It was a public declaration of friendship. Which is why off to the side, another group is watching: the Pharisees and the scribes. These were the most respected, most religiously careful men in the community. They studied the sacred law obsessively. They kept every rule. And by every standard they knew, they were the good ones, the ones who had earned God's favor by never stepping out of line. And they are appalled. The text gives us their exact complaint, muttered like a curse. This man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Feel the collision in that courtyard. On one side, the wreckage of society, drawn to Jesus like moths to a flame. On the other, the respectable, the rule keepers, offended that he would let such people near him. And Jesus, caught in the middle, decides not to argue. He decides to tell them a story. Actually, 3 stories in a row. First, a shepherd who loses 1 sheep out of 100 and leaves the 99 to go find it. Then, a woman who loses 1 silver coin and turns the whole house upside down until she finds it. 2 stories about something lost, something searched for, and a wild celebration when it is found. And then he begins the third, the longest, the one he has been building toward. There was a man who had 2 sons. And everyone leaning in assumes they know which son the story is about. They are wrong. Picture the household. A father, well off and respected. 2 sons. And in that world, the family land was everything. It was the family's name, its history, its future, all rooted in the soil their ancestors had worked. You did not sell it, you protected it, and one day you passed it on. And then the younger son does something that would have made that first century courtyard gasp out loud. He walks up to his father and says, "Father, give me my share of the estate." We hear a young man asking for his inheritance early. They heard something monstrous. An inheritance was what you received when your father died. To march up while he is alive and healthy and demand your share now is to say out loud the unthinkable. "Father, I wish you were already dead. You were worth more to me gone than here. Give me the money and get out of my life." In that culture, a father so insulted had every right to refuse, to strike the boy, to throw him out with nothing. The whole village would have backed him. Everyone in the courtyard is waiting for the father to defend his honor. Instead, he gives it to him. He divides his living between his 2 sons. To do that, he has to break apart the estate, sell off land, liquidate the very thing that held the family together, and hand the younger son a fortune in cash. He absorbs the insult in front of everyone. He lets his boy wound him in public, and he pays for the privilege of being wounded. Nobody watching can quite believe it. And the son? He does not even wait. A few days later, he gathers everything, and he leaves for a far country, as far from his father and his father's name as he can get. And there, the text says, he squanders it all in reckless living. Wild nights, new friends who love a man with an open purse, everything the fortune could buy, until the fortune is gone. And here is the first turn of the screw. The moment the money runs dry, a severe famine sweeps across that whole country. His timing could not be worse. The friends evaporate. The doors that open for a rich foreigner slam shut for a broke one. And a Jewish boy, alone, starving in a Gentile land, is about as low and as far from home as the story can put him. So he takes the only job he can find. And of all the jobs Jesus could have given him, he chooses the one designed to horrify every listener in that courtyard. The boy is sent into the fields to feed pigs. To a Jewish audience, the pig was the ultimate unclean animal, the very symbol of everything defiled. A son of Israel, hired to slop pigs in a foreign field, has hit a bottom lower than they thought possible. And he is so hungry that he longs to eat the carob pods he is throwing to the animals. The pigs are eating better than he is. And the line that breaks your heart, no one gave him anything. In the far country he chased, surrounded by no one who loved him, he is quietly starving to death among the swine. And then comes one of the most beautiful phrases in all of Scripture. The text says, he came to himself.
He came to himself, as if all this time he had been sleepwalking, lost inside a version of himself that was never really him. And now, in the mud, he wakes up, and his first waking thought is of home. How many of my father's hired servants, he says to himself, have more than enough bread? And here I am, dying of hunger. The lowest paid workers on his father's land eat better than he does now. He remembers that there is a place in the world where even the servants are cared for, and he makes a decision. He will go home. But notice, he does not expect to be a son anymore. He knows what he did is unforgivable by the rules of his world. So he carefully rehearses a speech, word by word, the way you rehearse an apology you are terrified to give. Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. That is his entire plan. Not to be forgiven. He does not dare hope for that. Just to be taken on as a laborer, to earn his bread, to live in the shadow of a home he threw away, and slowly, maybe, pay back what he can. He rehearses it over and over on the long, hungry road, each mile bringing him closer to the village that watched him leave. And here is the thing to hold in your mind, because in that culture, he was walking toward a disaster. A son who had done what he did, insulted his father, sold off the family land, wasted it among Gentiles, would not be welcomed at that village. The neighbors had their own ritual for a boy like this. They would have met him at the edge of town, smashed a pot at his feet, and formally cut him off forever. The gauntlet he has to run is not his father. It is the whole community waiting between him and that front door. So the real question is not, will the boy make it home? The question is, what happens the instant someone at that house looks up and sees him coming? And what the father does next is the single most shocking thing in the entire story.
Here is the detail everyone rushes past. The text says, still a long way off, which means the father was watching. Every day, this dishonored old man had been climbing up to look down that road,
searching the horizon for a silhouette that might be his boy. He never gave up. He never stopped hoping. And on this day, the figure on the road is unmistakable. And then the father does something that would have made the entire courtyard gasp again, for the opposite reason this time. He runs. We do not blink at that. To them, it was staggering. A wealthy, dignified, elderly man in that world did not run. Running meant gathering up your long robes and baring your legs like a common laborer, a humiliating, undignified spectacle. A patriarch walked slowly. He made others come to him. And yet here is this father, hiking up his robe, legs exposed, sprinting down the road in front of the whole village. Why? Think about who is waiting between him and his son. The village. The men who would stop the boy at the edge of town and cut him off forever. The father is running to get there first. He is running to reach his son before the community can, to take the shame onto his own body, publicly, so that no one can lay a hand on his boy. And he does not wait for an explanation. He falls on the boy's neck and kisses him. The son, stunned, starts into his rehearsed speech. "Father, I have sinned. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." And the father never lets him finish. The line the boy practiced most, the offer to become a hired servant, the father cuts it off before it can leave his mouth. Because the father has already decided, this is not a servant, this is his son. And what he shouts to his servants next redefines the entire meaning of the word home. "Bring the best robe," he cries, "and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let us eat and celebrate." And then the line the whole story is built around.
"For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." Look at what the father does not say. He does not say, "Let's discuss what you did." He does not say, "You can earn your way back." He calls for a robe, the robe of an honored guest, restoring the boy's dignity. A ring, a signet, the sign of a son with authority in the family again. Sandals. Servants went barefoot. Sons wore shoes. In 3 gifts, the father says, "You are not a hired hand. You are my child," fully, with everything that word means. And notice the words lost and found. Remember the shepherd and his sheep, the woman and her coin? All 3 stories end the same way, with something lost, something searched for, and an explosion of joy when it is found. That is the picture Jesus is painting of God. Not a reluctant judge who tolerates you if you grovel enough. A father on the roof, scanning the road, who runs. And if the story ended there, we could call it the prodigal son and go home happy. But it does not end there, because there is a second son, and he is the one Jesus has been aiming at the entire time. The older brother comes in from working the fields and hears music and dancing. When he learns his brother is home and his father is throwing a feast, he is furious, and he refuses to go inside. And now watch the father do the same thing a second time. Just as he ran out to the lost younger son, the father comes out, leaves his own party, and pleads with the older one to come in. And the older brother explodes. "All these years I have served you and never disobeyed, and you never gave me even a young goat to celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours comes back, who wasted your money on prostitutes, you kill the fattened calf for him."
And there it is, the real target of the whole parable. Because this brother never left home, and he is just as lost as the one who did. He has been living in his father's house the whole time, obeying every rule and calling it service. Listen to his words. He talks like an employee, not a son. He kept the rules perfectly and never once felt loved, because in his heart, he was earning, not belonging. And suddenly, the misunderstanding shatters. This was never simply a story about a bad boy who came home. It is a story about 2 lost sons,
One lost in a far country, one lost in his own father's house, and a father who runs out to both. And remember who is listening in that courtyard: the tax collectors and sinners, the younger brother, and the offended, rule-keeping Pharisees, folding their arms at the edge of the party, the older brother to the life. So before you decide which brother you are, hear this. The story says there are two ways to be far from home. One is obvious. Maybe you are the younger son. You made the reckless choice, burned the bridge, said the thing you can't take back, and now you are sitting in your own version of the pig pen, rehearsing an apology you are afraid is too small to matter. If that is you, look again at the father on the roof. He is not waiting to hear your speech. He is already running. You will not even finish your rehearsed line before you are wrapped in a robe you did nothing to earn.
But there is a quieter way to be lost, and it is more dangerous because it looks like faithfulness. Maybe you are the older son. You did everything right. You kept the rules, showed up, never made a scene. And somewhere along the way, your heart went cold and started keeping score. You obey, but you don't feel loved, because deep down, you think love is a wage you're still owed. If that is you, hear the most tender detail in the whole story. The Father came out for you too. He left his own feast to stand in the dark and plead with the good son to come inside. Because that is the ache at the center of this parable. The Father doesn't want servants, dutiful or disgraced. He wants his children home, at the same table, celebrating together. Whether you ran 1,000 miles away or never left the yard, the invitation is exactly the same, and it is running toward you right now. You were never meant to earn your way in. You were only ever meant to come home. And here is the last haunting thing. The story of the younger son gets a beautiful ending: a robe, a ring, a feast. But the story of the older son has no ending at all. Jesus stops mid-scene with the father pleading in the dark and the good son standing there, arms folded, deciding. We never find out if he went in. Why leave it unfinished? Because Jesus wasn't really asking about a character in a story. He was looking straight at the offended religious men in that courtyard, and at us, and asking, the door is open, the table is set. Will you come in? If this made an old story new again, take 1 second to like and subscribe. It truly helps these stories reach the people who need to hear them tonight. And next time, a woman is dragged before Jesus, a trap is set, and a crowd stands ready to throw the first stone. I'll see you there.